Hi there, it's Karen Kennedy from Real Food Matters, and today I want to show you how to make the middle path mac and cheese. I call it the middle path mac and cheese because this is something that I have on those nights where I just feel like, oh, I don't have time and I didn't plan anything. So maybe you could just bring home a pizza or something, honey. So sometimes I don't want to do that. Not that I have anything against pizza. But if I'm going to have pizza, I want to go out. Pizza is an event for our family. Going out is an event and it's an expense. And if I'm going to have pizza, I want to go to my favorite pizza place and enjoy pizza. So if I'm going to be at home, I'd just rather have something a little more nutritious and a lot less expensive. So I have middle path macaroni and cheese. Middle path meaning it's not the most awesome macaroni and cheese, but it's a lot better than what you get in a box. Are you ready? So what I have here, and I'm going to show you what makes it better than, you can imagine, there's lots of stuff that can make it better than box macaroni and cheese. So I've got a big pot of salted water on, and I've added a pound of pasta. And I've just used, whatever, I've used spiral pastas. You can use gluten-free pastas too. All right? So that's cooking away, and it's got a couple more minutes. This pasta needs to cook for about 12 minutes, so I set the timer for about 7 minutes, and then I'm going to add some broccoli to it. I know. So what I do with this macaroni and cheese is, because I know how awesome things like broccoli and cauliflower are when you put cheese sauce on them, I'm just going to put it all in one thing. And if I cook the broccoli, especially if I break the broccoli up into smaller florets, which I should have done, it kind of disappears in it. So I'll put broccoli in there. You can also put frozen peas. You can put cauliflower, which just disappears in this macaroni and cheese. Yeah, those are pretty much what I put in there as my vegetable. And then my other ingredients are, of course, cheese. And I use a good quality cheddar cheese, but if you're a real cheese person, you can, customize that to your liking. I also, and you don't have to do this, I cut up some ham. I usually have a ham that I've baked or a picnic ham, and I cut up a little bit of this for a little extra protein, but a lot more flavor. Again, this is totally optional. And then I use milk. Obviously, this isn't a dairy-free recipe, and I'm going to use about a cup of milk here, and I'm going to thicken it using arrowroot powder. Now, this is important because you would thicken these by making a roux. But I kind of want to skip that, in part out of ease. If you don't mind making a roux, you can make a roux and then stir your milk into it and thicken it that way. But this I find to be easier. And if you're doing gluten-free, arrowroot makes a really nice gluten-free thickener. All right, so my timer's going to go off in a sec. Let's get ourselves ready. So I'm going to add this broccoli to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that can cook, because I know that my broccoli is going to cook for 5 minutes. Now if I were putting frozen peas in here, my peas don't have to cook quite that much. I usually wait and add my peas at the end. I'll show you. When I have my colander in my sink for draining my pasta, I would put frozen peas in here. And if you want to add some greens, some tender greens to this, like spinach or something like this, you could also put those, shred those up, cut them really small, and put them in here. And then that boiling water from the pasta will sort of wilt that. So I'm going to put that in the sink. Okay. So now I'm going to thicken this, and I'm going to take my milk and my arrowroot powder and combine them. And this isn't a really precise recipe, but what I think I'll do is I'll probably add this is probably about 2 tablespoons of arrowroot powder for a cup of milk. And you can alter that. But the trick about adding arrowroot powder, kind of like cornstarch, is you want to add it to cold milk and whisk it first. And for some reason, I think that is not 2 tablespoons. So if you ever think it's not thick enough and you want to add more, don't go adding cornstarch or arrowroot powder to your hot milk that's bubbling away. Always add it to a little cold liquid like water or broth or milk in this case, and whisk it up to dissolve it. Okay, so that's all set. Now the other things I have on hand that are really important, because this is just going to be a white cheesy pasta thing, and I always want to get more micronutrients in there. But remember, this is kind of a quick meal with what I have on hand. So during this time when I'm bringing my pasta water to a boil, I can ask my family to, like my kids, to cut up some veggies and make a salad. So I have something easy like this for a vegetable. I've cut up a bell pepper. I've got some carrot sticks in there that are left over from what I grated into the salad. And I've got some mange tout peas, some sugar snap peas that are really tasty. So that's going to be on the table for people who don't like salad or whatever. Because honestly, when you have kids, everyone gets hungry right before dinner, like an hour before dinner. You're trying to get on the table and everyone's at you. So while they're hungry, put this on the table and say, well, that's on. You can start with that if you want to. And they will intake more vegetables if you put them on the table before dinner and give them special permission to start on that. They'll finish this. Their vegetable will be all gone before dinner starts. And some of you might have some food rules at your family that you don't start eating until everyone's ready, and I totally respect that. But this can be, you could say this is just a starter. You know, it's just like if you're having a dinner party and you put out your starters for little finger food. That's what this is. So that's going on the table. And then I've got a nice colorful green salad as well. And I've got some lettuce and some baby spinach in here. And I've grated some carrots, purple cabbage, and some sliced radish in there. So, I mean, between these, this is a rainbow. This is feeding our microbiome. And then, of course, I've got my week of vinaigrette that I'm just going to give another shake to. This is 2 parts olive oil to 1 part vinegar. I think I did a combo of red wine vinegar and balsamic vinegar with a heaping spoonful of French mustard and a big pinch of salt. That's it. So that was already made because I only make this once a week and it's all ready. Okay. And then when my pasta's ready, this is why I have all of this ready. What I'm going to do is I'm going to strain my pasta and my veggies. You know, there might be peas in there to steam. And then I'm going to put my milk with arrowroot powder in the pot. Hi, dog. And I'm going to let that come to a bubble, and I'll be stirring that so it doesn't get all stuck to the bottom of the pan. Then I'll add my cheese and my ham. All right? So why don't you come over here? Good. So one addition to this dish that I really like, and I don't have it today, is pesto or fresh basil. Whenever I have a little bit of pesto left in the fridge, I like to put this in here as well. And it just, you know, I think basil makes everything taste better, but especially this. All right, there's our timer. Okay, we're back. I've drained the pasta, and I've got my empty, mostly empty, dirty pot here. So I'm going to stir up my milk again and add it all to the pot, along with the arrowroot powder added to it. I want you to come over here and see what I'm doing. There we go. All right, so that's going to come up pretty quickly. And it thickens. Because it's only a couple of millimeters in this pot, it's less than a centimeter deep. It's going to come to a boil pretty quickly, and if I don't stir it on a regular basis, it will start to burn and make clumps. Alright, so while it's coming to a boil, let's add our pepper. And I'm just going to put a little bit of black pepper in here. And I'm going to add a little bit of salt. So remember, cheese is basically salt. So I'm not going to add that much, but I'm going to add a little bit because I know I usually need a little bit of extra salt in this. already start to feel it thicken a little. So this is the point where you'd make a roux. If you're a kind of person like, I'm just going to make a roux, I know how to do that, no one's gluten-free in my house, or you can make a roux with gluten-free flour, then instead of doing this, you would just put some butter in the bottom of the pan, whisk in a couple tablespoons of flour, and cook that flour for about a minute, and then you would whisk in cold milk. And then when it thickens in about a minute, you'd have your roux. Okay, I'm bubbly here now. Okay, so that's starting to thicken and that's good. And now I'm going to add my cheese to this. And this is where I don't need my whisk anymore, I don't think. Now I'm going to go back to my big wooden spoon. This might need a little bit of extra milk to loosen it up, but I'm going to go with it. And I'm going to add my ham for flavor and for a little extra protein. And this is when I would add a little bit of chopped basil or some pesto, because you don't want to cook that. That's something you want to keep that flavor really fresh. But I don't have any right now, so that's it. Check it out. It's just, you know, white sauce with ham. Now stay there. I'm going to add my pasta and broccoli to that, and peas or whatever other vegetable you've got in there. I like to keep it simple because this is a kid pleaser. This is what I make for kids, especially if some kids were over for lunch, my kids had friends over, I would often make this cheesy pasta. Oh, now there's the thing. So when you make this for kids who don't normally eat in your house, do not call this mac and cheese. Don't say, you want to have mac and cheese for lunch? Because it sets an expectation for Kraft macaroni and cheese, which is not bad. But when you lay this in front of them, they're going to go, oh, this isn't how I like my mac and cheese. So you'll just ruin it for them. Instead, say, do you want some cheesy pasta? I'm going to make some cheesy pasta with ham. And you know, cheese, pasta, ham, most people are down with that. Okay, this is great. I'm going to turn off my fan, and I want to show you what this looks like. Dished up. So you know there's broccoli in there. You're not going to hide it, but if you say you have a kid who likes basil, lots of kids like pesto and basil, you can say, well, I've got some cheesy pasta with basil. And you're not lying, because they'll see those flecks of green and they'll just assume, oh, that's just more basil, but you know that it's broccoli. So depending on how sneaky you are with food, this is what you can get away with. And if you make sure you chop up your broccoli ahead of time, then it's going to be even smaller and easier to pass as basil. I hate to be so deceptive, but sometimes you must do these things. So that's that, and then you'll just, to your kids' plates, you're going to add some veggie sticks. Of course, some kids don't want this to touch the pasta, so it might require a separate plate. But if you have one of those, you already know what to do. So this is the Middle Path macaroni and cheese. Super easy, very flexible on the vegetables, way better than Kraft macaroni and cheese, better than a last-minute pizza, but maybe not as good as your super duper homemade mac and cheese recipe, but a lot faster and pretty healthy. I hope you make it. Thanks for watching.